The story kicks off with Arlen X, a good-looking musician who's just come back to Thailand, his hometown. He used to be a big deal in America, where loads of ladies adored him. Meanwhile, there's a 33-year-old lady named Najai who's pretty busy. She's the head of marketing at a home shopping company, and she works alongside her team, Priyu, Maple, and Mies. And Najai is dating with Mesa, who's the director of making ads for the company. One day during lunch with their team, Mes tells Najai that he saw Mesa shopping for a ring at a fancy jewelry store. Najai hears this and gets all flustered, thinking her boyfriend might pop the question soon. And while all this is going on, Arlen is swamped with photo shoots and interviews. He often talks about his first love, which inspires his music. Switching to the past when Arlen was just a tiny 2-year-old called Tofu. Back then, he used to play with Najai, who was the daughter of their busy neighbors. But life took Arlen and his parents all the way to America, and he never saw Najai again. To make it even trickier, she had no idea that the famous Arlen was the same little Tofu from their childhood adventures. So, when Arlen reached out, claiming to be Tofu and wanting to meet up, Najai wasn't too keen on letting him into her life. One evening, Najai and Mesa sat down for dinner, but instead of the proposal she was dreaming of, Mesa asks her to end their relationship. He was expecting Najai to beg him to stay, but she surprised him by agreeing to the breakup. Najai had faced many heartbreaks before, so she seemed pretty tough on the outside. She wasted no time telling her teammates about the breakup. The next morning, Najai, who had just gone through a breakup the night before, walked into the office with a bright and cheerful mood. She even surprised her friends by treating them to a concert by Arlen. Later that evening, they all went to the concert together, and Najai got lost in the music without realizing that Arlen was actually Tofu. Meanwhile, Arlen, who had recognized Najai, couldn't take his eyes off her, making her friends suspect he had a thing for her. After the concert, Arlen approached Najai and her friends, but suddenly a woman named Kiss arrived, holding Arlen's hand lovingly. To Najai's surprise, she recognized Kiss as her high school classmate, who had become a successful fashion designer. But there was tension between them because they both used to be in love with the same guy. Najai, still holding a grudge against Kiss for what she thought was boyfriend stealing in the past, didn't mince words, and this disappointed Arlen. Soon after, Najai, not wanting to see Kiss and Arlen together, decided to leave. Arlen tried to follow Najai to make sure she was okay, but he couldn't find her at home. He continued searching and eventually spotted Najai at a cafe. Najai, looking a bit tipsy, was surprised to see Arlen approaching her. In that moment, Arlen tried to ask her about Tofu, and Najai described Tofu as a troublesome kid, while praising Arlen as a handsome musician. She went on talking about Tofu without realizing that Arlen was right there, actually being Tofu. She also opened up about her problems, and this helped Arlen understand why she had been acting differently and harshly, as no one had really listened to her concerns. When Najai got back home, Arlen followed her at a distance to make sure she got there safely. While doing that, he happened to notice the password for Najai's door, and he remembered it, just in case. At home, Najai couldn't hold back her tears as she thought about her failed romance with Mesa. That evening, Priyu and some others came over to Najai's place to comfort her since she was heartbroken. Sadly, during their chat, Mies accidentally mentioned that Kiss's ring looked exactly like the one Mesa had bought. Najai didn't want to dwell on sad stuff, so she talked about how it's hard to find honest guys nowadays. Then Priyu shared her own experience with a wealthy man in a no-strings-attached kind of relationship, even using a fake name because she didn't want anything serious. The next day at work, their department head gave Najai's hardworking team a new and spacious office as a reward for their advertising efforts. They were thrilled about the comfortable new space, but suddenly, they got some bad news. Mesa refused to work on their ad video. This made Najai rush to visit her ex-boyfriend. When Najai arrived at Mesa's place, where Mesa was taking some time off, he opened up to Najai. He told her that he needed more time to move on and didn't want to see her too often. They'd also talked about how quickly Najai had agreed to break up, which left Mesa feeling disappointed because he thought she didn't put in much effort to keep their relationship going. This upset Najai, and she started to cry, accusing him of playing with her emotions despite her genuine love for him. Not long after, someone showed up at the door, and Najai quickly answered it. To her surprise, it was Kiss, wearing the same ring that Mesa had ordered. This made Najai furious, and she forcefully took off the ring necklace, which led to a heated argument between her and Kiss. Thankfully, Arlen arrived and stepped in to break up the fight. Najai was still really angry and believed that Kiss had a history of stealing the men she loved. In the heat of the moment, she kicked the side mirror of an expensive car, thinking it belonged to Kiss, but it actually belonged to Arlen. She felt embarrassed, but Arlen didn't seem to mind and invited her inside to tend to her injuries from the fight with Kiss. At Mesa's place, Mesa and Kiss discussed their matching rings and realized that Najai had misunderstood the situation. A few days later, Najai's team got together to talk about potential fashion models with their manager. Mesa, who led the team, suggested using Kiss as a model. At first, Najai's team didn't like this idea. At the meeting, Najai was pretty frustrated with Mesa's decision, so she let off steam by talking to Maple. This made Maple, who was already feeling down, head to the rooftop for some solace, and Miss tried to comfort her. That evening, while Najai was walking home, she spotted Arlen in a nearby park. She greeted him as Arlen the musician, but it made him sad because she didn't recognize him as Tofu. On another day, Najai had to deal with Kiss, who had become the official model for her company's ads. During their meeting, it was pretty clear that their relationship was strained, and they ended up talking about their past. It turns out that Mesa and Kiss had a history, and it didn't end well. Around the same time, Najai, who was spending more time with Arlen, started to like him, and they decided to give dating a try. Arlen had to keep his real identity as Tofu a secret to make it easier for Najai to accept him. Najai, even though she had recently broken up with Mesa, was pretty happy with her relationship with Arlen. In her office life, Najai and her team faced some challenges because of Kiss's demands, and it caused them a lot of trouble. On the other hand, Arlen, who knew Najai's door password, decided to surprise her by visiting while she was working and secretly tidied up her messy home. A few days later, Najai got a message from Tofu, saying he wanted to come over to her place. She was shocked when Arlen showed up, and finally realized that Arlen and Tofu were the same person. She felt a bit deceived because they had gone on dates and even shared a kiss, but Arlen explained that he did it because he wanted Najai to see him as an adult, not just a child. Meanwhile, Priya got quite a shock from Tatcha, the guy she was seeing, who happened to live in the same apartment complex as her. She seemed flustered and tried to hide her true identity, something she had been avoiding him knowing about. On a different day, Najai came home from work and was surprised to find Arlen, who had decided to live with her. She was still pretty mad at him for lying about being Tofu. Arlen tried to explain that he had loved her for a long time, but Najai couldn't accept it. To her, Tofu and Arlen were the same young boy she used to take care of, so she asked him not to have feelings for her anymore. Another day, when there was a lot of work to do at the office, Maple and Mez got closer and were spotted having a chat on the rooftop. They talked about Maple's relationship with her boyfriend, which was going through a rough patch. Mez didn't want to see his coworker upset, so he tried to comfort her and even wiped away her tears. This eventually created a romantic atmosphere between them. While all this was happening, Mesa left the office and headed to a bar, where he coincidentally ran into Kiss. She asked him to get back together, but he turned her down. In the past, Kiss had let him down big time, especially when she put her job before their relationship. Hearing this, Kiss decided to leave him at the bar until he got really drunk. Luckily, one of the bar staff found Najai's number in Mesa's phone and called her to pick him up. Najai rushed over to get him, but realized he was too drunk, so she brought him to her place. The next morning, Arlen, who had come to Najai's house, was surprised to see Mesa there. He got a bit upset because she had brought a stranger home. Mesa seemed confused by Arlen's presence, and Najai introduced them. In that moment, Arlen intentionally brought up Najai's flaws to Mesa, hoping to make sure Mesa didn't develop feelings for her. Meanwhile, there was a lot of work to be done, and Priyu got some news from the doctor that she was going through early menopause. Unfortunately, she felt like her team members didn't really care about her problems, and they didn't show much sympathy. This made Priyu feel pretty sad and let down. After work, Mes seemed to offer to walk Maple home and even gave her a scarf. But then, Maple's boyfriend showed up at the office, so she quickly said bye to Miz and chose to go home with her boyfriend. A few days later, both Najai's team and Kiss's team launched their new products. Since Priya was absent, Najai's team didn't get as positive a response from the audience. Mesa, who saw the team's failure, felt really let down, and Najai was sad because she couldn't make Mesa happy as their team leader. Back at home, still troubled by the situation, she realized she still had feelings for Mesa, even though they had been apart for some time. Arlen, who was trying to comfort her, also figured out that he didn't have a special place in Najai's heart, and decided to keep his feelings for her hidden. The next day, everyone on Najai's team had to deal with Mesa's teasing about their last project's Mesa. It made Maple and the others pretty down, and he also scolded Najai and told her to do better. On a different day, Kiss dropped by Messa's office and tried to get him back, but he said no, even though he still cared about her inside. As night fell, Najai, wanting to ease her mind about the project's failure, decided to talk with Arlen, who had been trying to express his feelings to her. Even though she usually avoided such talks because she still saw Arlen as a kid. The next morning, Najai woke up and realized she had shared a bed with Arlen. Arlen, on the other hand, felt pretty awkward about the situation. On the flip side, Priyu had gone for a checkup and was surprised when the doctor told her she was pregnant. She hadn't expected this because she was in a relationship she hadn't taken seriously. Confused, Priyu shared her problem with Najai, who promised to support whatever decision Priyu made regarding her relationship and the baby. The following day, Priyu, who had returned to work after her leave, seemed more excited despite her unresolved issues. Najai was in a similar mood. She didn't want her performance to keep going downhill. She even stood up for her team when a colleague tried to mock their previous failures. Later on, to boost the sales of their products that had flopped before, Najai's team tried live streaming. During the live session, Kiss and her team joined in to help, and they managed to increase the sales. Even though the two teams were still competing, they celebrated their successful live stream by having a meal together. After the meal, Kiss looked happy when Mesa came to pick her up, and Najai couldn't help feeling jealous of their closeness, especially when she learned that Mesa had rekindled his relationship with Kiss. At home, Najai talked to Arlen about Mesa and Kiss's relationship, which seemed to be getting better. The following day at the office, Mesa asked Najai to have lunch together, and she gladly accepted the offer. However, things got a bit tricky when Kiss suddenly showed up and joined them for lunch. It seemed like Mesa didn't realize there was tension between Kiss and Najai, so he didn't mind having Kiss with them. While at the restaurant, Najai and Kiss seemed to be trying to challenge each other. In the evening, Najai talked about her dinner with Kiss and Mesa, and Arlen advised her to follow her heart when it came to her feelings for Mesa and to tell him how she felt if she truly loved him. Meanwhile, Maple, who met her boyfriend, had a heated argument about her insistence on him passing the lawyer's exam. She even threatened to break up with him if he failed the exam. Maple's boyfriend appeared upset and decided to end their relationship. On another note, Priyu, who was pregnant, continued to avoid Tatcha by skipping their dinner events, even though Tatcha was thinking about taking their relationship more seriously. On the other hand, Mesa decided to end his relationship with Kiss once more because he felt like she hadn't changed and always put her work before their relationship. After breaking up with Kiss, Mesa suddenly asked Najai to go watch a musical together, which made her really happy. She even tried to look her best for him. Sadly, he did this on purpose to make Kiss jealous, and Arlen, who knew about it, felt upset because Mesa was using the woman he loved as a pawn. During dinner, Mesa finally confessed to Najai that he had invited her intentionally to make Kiss jealous. Najai felt sad about this confession and felt like she had been used by Mesa. But she couldn't stay angry with him because he still had a special place in her heart. So she could only cry alone at home and blame herself for having expectations. Arlen, who knew what was going on, could sense Najai's sadness. Mesa, seemingly unapologetic, contacted Najai again that night to talk about work. When Arlen saw a call from Mesa on Najai's phone, he answered it and asked Mesa to give Najai some time to rest because after their meeting, she had only cried herself to sleep. After hearing this, Mesa started feeling guilty about what he had done to her. The next day, Najai seemed cheerful and full of energy at work, as if she had forgotten about her troubles from the previous night. Arlen was delighted to see her like this and even prepared a lunchbox for her. When they got to the office, Najai got busy with her work until Mesa approached her with meeting materials and invited her to lunch. During their break, while having lunch together, Mesa asked Najai about her relationship with Arlen. He also apologized for making her cry the night before. Hearing the apology, Najai looked at Mesa and felt her feelings for him getting stronger, but she still couldn't find the courage to express them. At the same time, Arlen and Kiss seemed to be talking, with Kiss admitting she still loved Mesa and wouldn't let Najai or any other woman take him away from her. When she learned that Arlen loved Najai, she asked him to interfere in Najai and Mesa's relationship. However, Arlen refused because he wanted to see the person he loved be happy, even if it wasn't with him. After hearing Arlen's response, Kiss chose to leave, and when she returned to the office, she accidentally saw how close Najai and Mesa were, which made her even more jealous. On another occasion, Najai and Kiss teamed up once more for a company's advertising photo shoot. Many people knew they were from the same alma mater, and the company hoped their combined image would boost its recognition. After the photo shoot, Kiss suddenly confided in Najai that she hadn't officially broken up with Mesa yet and asked for Najai's support in their relationship. Meanwhile, Mesa, who had started being kind to all his team members and paying special attention to Maple, made Najai and Priyu suspicious about their colleagues' growing closeness, especially since Maple was defending him. In that moment, Priyu messaged Najai, revealing her decision to raise her unborn baby, even if it meant doing it without a father, and being ready to face the gossip and judgment from people about her pregnancy without a husband. As a good friend, Najai expressed her readiness to support Priyu no matter what. After work, Najai, who had been living with Arlen for some time, felt that her life was becoming more vibrant because there was always someone there for her. She was proud to see Tofu, whom she had looked after, growing into a good and impressive young man. Najai expressed her gratitude to Arlen for coming into her life. As for Maple, she seemed to visit her boyfriend's place to try and reconcile with him. Sadly, her boyfriend had moved, and according to the neighbors, he had decided to relocate to another province without telling Maple. This left her feeling very sad, and her hopes of keeping her relationship with her boyfriend alive had been crushed. A few days later, with Kiss as their model, Najai's team successfully launched their new product, breaking sales records and making all team members ecstatic. Arlen, who was aware of their success, also shared in the joy of their achievement. However, Najai had Mesa on her mind, so she gathered the courage to visit him and express her feelings. She asked Mesa to take her out on a date as a reward for the project's success. Mesa smiled and agreed to Najai's request. Back at home, while Najai was happily sharing all the good things that happened to her that day, including Mesa accepting her feelings, Arlen assumed that Najai had gone on a date with Mesa just to get back at Kiss. He expressed his concern about not wanting to see Najai become someone who would hurt others for her own happiness. That night, he was upset and decided to go to his music studio to calm down. Najai felt guilty about Arlen and sent him a message to apologize, saying she would wait for him to return. After reading the message, Arlen was touched and decided to go back to the woman he loved. The next day at the office, Maple informed her team that she had broken up with her boyfriend, who had quietly left the city after passing the bar exam. She decided not to dwell on sadness and instead focus on her work. During the office break, Tatcha, who had been having trouble contacting Priyu, came to the office to meet her. He mentioned wanting to meet Mez because Priyu had used Mez's name as an alias to keep her true identity hidden from Tatcha. After Mez met with him, Tatcha was surprised as he didn't recognize Mez. Meanwhile, Priyu was startled to see Tatcha in the office and tried to hide. Unfortunately, Tatcha quickly spotted her and discovered Priyu's true identity as his apartment neighbor. At that point, Priyu expressed her desire to end their relationship, but Tatcha insisted on taking their relationship to a more serious level. Feeling unprepared for such a commitment, Priyu declined his offer. As for Kiss, she wanted to discuss something important and invited Najai to her house. There, she asked Najai not to take Mesa away from her. Najai chose to leave without saying much and went to Arlen's studio to share her meeting with Kiss. She talked about her doubts regarding her feelings for Mesa and wondered if she genuinely loved him or if it was just to make Kiss jealous. Najai also felt guilty after learning how deeply Kiss loved Mesa. Arlen offered advice and encouraged her to follow her heart. When the weekend came, Maple and Mez, who were growing closer, spent their day off visiting various places. Meanwhile, Najai and Mesa, who had plans for a date, had to cancel because Mesa fell ill. Najai wanted to visit him, so she convinced Arlen to cook porridge for her to take to Mesa's apartment. After Arlen agreed and prepared the food, Najai rushed to Mesa's apartment to deliver it. Surprisingly, Kiss also arrived to take care of him, but Mesa asked her to leave, which disappointed her as he chose Najai over her. After Kiss left, Najai felt upset, thinking Mesa had used her to hurt Kiss. So she decided to follow Kiss to the parking lot to apologize. However, Kiss believed Najai did it on purpose as retaliation for past actions and vowed to win Mesa back from Najai. On the other hand, Tatcha left a gift and a letter outside Priyu's apartment door. This made Priyu realize that Tatcha's feelings for her were sincere, and he wanted a serious relationship. The next day, Najai's team achieved success again with their new project, featuring Kiss as the product model. Mesa congratulated Najai and invited her to dinner. That evening, at a romantic restaurant, Mesa asked Najai to be his girlfriend, and she accepted, officially getting back together. Meanwhile, Arlen was spotted buying a bouquet of flowers. When he got home, he surprised Najai to celebrate their 99 days of living together. Najai was surprised but told him that she had become Messa's girlfriend. Although Arlen felt heartbroken, he tried to hide his feelings from her. The next evening, Arlen was upset when he saw Najai coming back all wet from the rain. He wondered why Messa didn't take better care of her, but Najai said it didn't bother her. On another occasion, Arlen asked Najai why she liked Messa so much. She explained that Messa's small gestures, like complimenting her, had won her over. Arlen felt frustrated because he had complimented her too, but it hadn't had the same effect. Another day in the office restroom, Priyu started to feel the signs of her pregnancy. Najai, knowing this, tried to support and encourage her, which made Priyu happy. In the evening, Messa invited Najai to work on their tasks at his apartment. She was excited, thinking it would be romantic, but Messa seemed indifferent and even scolded her for a mistake. After finishing their work, Najai was disappointed because Messa didn't give her a goodbye kiss. Later, Messa met Arlen outside Najai's house. Arlen thought Messa wasn't treating Najai well as his girlfriend, but Messa argued that Arlen was just jealous of their relationship. After a while, Messa returned to his apartment and found Kiss waiting for him outside. He was distant and asked her to leave, which made Kiss feel sad. Inside, Messa felt guilty for treating her so harshly. On another day, Kiss contacted her lawyer to file a complaint against Najai because she was upset and wanted to undermine Najai's team. Arlen, who was sitting beside her, overheard her plans and became concerned for Najai. He tried to calm Kiss down by taking her for a walk to get some fresh air, hoping she would reconsider her actions against Najai's team. Meanwhile, Messa invited Najai to his apartment to apologize for his earlier behavior. Najai accepted the invitation, and they spent time together. Several days later, Kiss held a lavish grand opening party for her boutique. However, things got awkward when she intentionally spread a rumor that she still loved Messa and wanted to rekindle their relationship. Najai, who was at the party, felt disappointed and saddened by the rumor. Meanwhile, Messa tried to have a private conversation with Kiss to discuss what she had said in front of everyone. During their talk, Kiss openly asked Messa not to date anyone else and questioned his true feelings for Najai. Messa stayed silent, and this made Najai realize that she had overheard the conversation and felt let down by Messa. Arlen then took Najai away from the situation and expressed his feelings to her, promising to protect her heart. Unfortunately, Najai had not yet realized Arlen's true love for her. Najai decided to calm herself by having a drink alone at a cafe, while Arlen waited outside, not wanting to disturb her. However, when she didn't come out and it started to rain, he eventually went back home. As he arrived in front of Najai's house, the drenched Arlen saw Messa still waiting for Najai. Despite his doubts about Messa's sincerity towards Najai, Arlen finally told Messa where Najai was, hoping that Messa could comfort her. When Messa arrived at the cafe, he explained that his relationship with Kiss had ended a long time ago. He apologized if he had made Najai doubt his sincerity and confessed that he genuinely liked her and hoped she would give him a chance. Najai started to melt and put aside her anger towards him after hearing his explanation. Meanwhile, Tatcha finally learned about Priyu's pregnancy, which she had kept hidden. He questioned why she didn't tell him, but she avoided explaining. As Messa escorted Najai home, he expressed his jealousy about Arlen living together with her. When they arrived home, she tried to find Arlen in his room and even sent him a message to discuss her jealousy. Unfortunately, she didn't receive a reply from him, so she chose to sleep in his room, unaware that Arlen had fallen asleep in her room. Some time later, Najai received a promotion to become the head of the department as a way for the company's management to show appreciation for her hard work. Her team celebrated her promotion by inviting Kiss, but unfortunately, Kiss didn't seem pleased with the event. She even announced that she would terminate her contract with Najai's team. On another day, Tatcha met with Priyu to give her various gifts, considering her pregnancy. During their meeting, Tatcha also apologized for ending their relationship because he wasn't prepared for parenthood. Priyu felt very sad upon hearing this, not expecting that the man she had been dating wouldn't take responsibility. However, she remained determined to raise the child she was carrying. One night, when Messa picked up Najai for a night out, he couldn't help but feel jealous when he saw how close Arlen was with her. Najai and Arlen were surprised by Messa's presence, so Najai decided to leave with her boyfriend. Although Messa had invited her to watch a movie, he chose not to ask for an explanation about Najai and Arlen's closeness that night. Najai started to feel uneasy and realized that her relationship with Arlen sometimes blurred the lines of sibling affection. When they returned home, she talked to Arlen and made it clear that she had no romantic feelings for him and asked him to maintain some distance to avoid any misunderstandings. The next day at the office, Ms. and Maple were secretly affectionate in the kitchen until they overheard Priyu talking to Najai about her pregnancy and maternity leave plans. Ms. and Maple were shocked to learn about this. Shortly after, Ms. called Najai, having heard the conversation as well, to express his concerns about Priyu's health and the potential workplace issues that could arise if the management found out about Priyu's pregnancy as a single mother. He asked Najai to ensure that the news didn't spread and disrupt their work. Meanwhile, Tatcha, who was at the supermarket, couldn't help but think about Priyu's situation and worried about her well-being, even though they had broken up. At the same time, Najai's team provided support to Priyu to let her know she wasn't alone in facing this challenge. Turning to Kiss, she seemed to meet up with Arlen to confide in him after going through various difficulties, from problems of her company to the end of her relationship with Mesa. One day, Mesa invited Najai to go out again, but Arlen, who was feeling jealous, threatened to leave the house if she went out with Mesa. Najai thought Arlen's behavior was childish, so she didn't pay much attention to the threat and chose to go with Mesa. When Najai and Mesa met in front of the house and were about to kiss, Arlen interrupted them once more, asking her to choose between him and Mesa. This angered Najai, while Mesa tried to advise Arlen to accept reality and be more mature. He also suggested to Najai that she should ask Arlen to leave her house so he could learn to be independent and mature. After Mesa said his goodbyes and left, Najai scolded Arlen and asked him to improve his attitude. In Priyu's apartment, Tatcha tried to visit her with various foods, while asking her to take care of her health. Priyu, who intentionally didn't open the door, seemed confused by Tatcha's behavior, as he had previously asked for a breakup but continued to give her attention. Another day, Arlen was seen packing up all his things and saying goodbye to Najai because he was leaving her house. Arlen's departure made Najai feel lonely, even though her friendship with Kiss had finally improved that day. Unfortunately, she didn't have a friend to listen to all her stories after work anymore. In the following days, Najai and Kiss continued to collaborate on various advertising projects for their company. Najai felt content with the progress at work, but when she returned home, she couldn't help but feel lonely without Arlen's presence, who used to greet her with joy. The next day, curious about how Arlen was doing, Najai asked Kiss about him. Kiss then shared that Arlen had become a successful music radio host and a new idol for teenagers. When Najai heard about Arlen's success, she felt frustrated, struggling to accept that he could be happy while she still couldn't stop thinking about him. Back in Priyu's apartment, she wore a happy smile upon seeing the results of her pregnancy checkup. The doctor had informed her that she would have twins. Shortly after, Tatcha returned to her, a bit tipsy, and brought a box filled with various items for their unborn baby. Priyu had to let Tatcha in, and he ended up sleeping on the sofa until the next morning. When he woke up, he revealed that he had changed his mind and was now determined to help take care of their baby. He was even willing to look after the baby while Priyu was at work. Meanwhile, Najai, who had fallen asleep in Arlen's room, woke up with a fever and had some vivid hallucinations, thinking she was with Arlen, who was taking care of her. But when she realized it was all in her mind, she felt sad and lonely once more. She rushed to the pharmacy to buy some fever medicine, and then found shelter from the rain at a nearby park near her house. Surprisingly, Arlen also sought refuge from the rain at the same park, and Najai was taken aback when she saw him there. In that moment, both of them secretly hoped the rain wouldn't stop so they could spend more time together. She even turned off her phone when Misa tried to call her, and Arlen encouraged her to listen to her heart and figure out who she truly needed before he left. After Arlen left, Mesa arrived to take Najai out for a meal. During their dinner, she couldn't help but ask Mesa about his feelings for her, feeling like he didn't love her as intensely as he loved Kiss in the past. Mesa explained that his feelings for Najai were indeed different because he had been hurt by Kiss before, but he assured her that he would give his best in their relationship. The next day, Najai found herself in Arlen's room, listening to his songs and reminiscing about all the time they had spent together. It became clear to her that Arlen genuinely loved her. With this realization, she decided to meet with Mesa and end their relationship. She also mentioned to Mesa that Kiss was still waiting for him to return to her. Once she got back home, Najai immediately cleaned Arlen's room and attempted to reach out to him, asking him to come back and live together again. She even sent a message to the radio channel where Arlen worked. Unfortunately, Arlen responded coldly, asking her to rectify her mistakes. The following day at the office, Najai sought advice from her colleagues on how to express her love without facing rejection, as she had someone in mind after her breakup with Mesa. Priyu and the others were surprised to hear about Najai's breakup with Mesa and were curious about the new person she had feelings for. Meanwhile, Maple, who had grown close to Mez recently, playfully teased him, and eventually, Mez confessed his feelings for her in front of Najai and Priyu, who were happy for their colleagues. After work, Najai decided to visit Arlen's apartment to return some of his belongings that he had left behind. Arlen, knowing why she came, encouraged her to express her feelings for him. However, Najai hesitated, bringing up concerns about their age difference and family matters. This left Arlen disappointed, and he eventually asked her to leave since she lacked the courage to fight for their relationship. On another occasion, Najai and her team invited Kist to join them for a meal, hoping to persuade her to work with their team once again. Initially, Kist declined, but Najai was determined not to lose her best partner. She went back to talk to Kist and asked her to return to their team as a model and a friend. Seeing Najai's determination, Kist eventually agreed to her friend's request. A few days later, Maple and Mez enjoyed their first official date as a couple, while Najai paid another visit to Arlen at his apartment to express her feelings, which made him very happy. Mez, on the other hand, promised Maple that he would always be there for her and make her happy, bringing joy to her heart as she had found someone who truly understood her. At the office, Najai, along with Kist and others, had a discussion about Arlen, who had become a famous artist and had a lot of admirers, especially women. Her friends cautioned her to be careful about the attention Arlen received from other women, considering the significant age difference between them. Najai took her friends' advice to heart and kept a close eye on everything Arlen did. When Arlen had to interview two popular female singers, he made it clear that he had a girlfriend when asked about his relationship status. Meanwhile, Maple, who was traveling with Mez, shared her dream of going on a solo travel adventure for a whole year. She admitted that despite saving money for her future, it hadn't brought her happiness. Mez felt disappointed by Maple's decision, especially since they had just started their relationship. It explained that if she was determined to go on this solo journey, it might mean the end of their relationship. On another note, Mez had a meeting with the company director to discuss Priyu's pregnancy. He asked the director to consider creating a new maternity leave policy to support Priyu and other single mothers, ensuring they felt comfortable continuing to work. Mez assured the director that despite Priyu's pregnancy, she would maintain her excellent performance at the company. After hearing Mez's explanation, the director called in Najai and Priyu to discuss the matter further. After some discussion, she agreed to reconsider the policy proposed by Mez. Najai and Priyu were grateful to the director and admired Mez's thoughtful approach that considered the well-being of all the company's employees. When they returned to the room, Maple suddenly stood up and said she had something to say. Mez promptly took Maple out of the room, leaving Najai and Priyu puzzled about their colleagues' behavior. Still upset, Mez took Maple shopping for luggage and a camera, agreeing to pay for the items in 12 monthly installments so that he could be reminded of her every month. Maple was deeply moved by Mez's gesture and felt happy because he had finally allowed her to pursue her dream of solo travel. When Maple returned to the office, she shared her plan to take a year off for solo travel with Najai and Priyu. Najai understood and respected Maple's decision, offering her words of encouragement. She reminded Maple to follow her heart and pursue her dreams so that she wouldn't have any regrets as she grew older and couldn't relive her youth. In the final scenes of the series, Priyu goes for a pregnancy checkup with Tatcha, and they openly express their feelings for each other, even though they're not ready for a serious commitment at the moment. Meanwhile, Kiss accompanies Mesa, who is transferring to the Hong Kong office, and she gives him a necklace as a keepsake, hoping to rekindle their relationship. As for Mez, he is seen at the airport, seeing off Maple as she embarks on her solo travel adventure. Najai surprises Arlen by taking him to the zoo to see giraffes, fulfilling a promise they made as children. Arlen enjoys his time with the woman he has loved since childhood. The moral lesson from this story is, avoid making your relationships as complicated as a TV drama, or you might find yourself at the zoo with giraffes.